Okay, I think that's working. So I'm doing it on my phone today. I've had audio problems on my phone, but I don't have a microphone, so we'll have to do it this way. Normie invasion stream. My channel's being invaded by normies again. You know me. I take months off from doing videos, and when I do videos, I usually do them a lot in a row. But I made the mistake of doing a video on Telegram. Okay, maybe you guys saw it. It actually got a good, not that many views, but I regret doing it because I sort of kicked the hornet's nest when it comes to normies, because I sort of forget how they work. You know, like a lot of people don't think through. You know, if you use like a program for something, I guess there are people who know how to pick a program, how to like wisely decide what protocols to use for their personal computing. And then there are people who just use programs for fun or use programs because their friends use it. And I made the mistake of doing a video on Telegram. Now, of course, everything I said in the video was right. I don't really regret it, but I just mean it's one of those things where the amount of extremely stupid comments I got from this video is just confusing. I mean, like the kind of people who, I mean, Telegram, you know, I don't want to talk too much about it, but you know, the thing that annoys me about it is it's one of those technology projects that's aimed to those people who don't really know what they're talking about. Like they fancy themselves as sort of like more intelligent than your average normie when it comes to technology, but they actually don't know what's end-to-end encryption. They don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So that's your average Telegram user, I think. But the thing that annoys me most about Telegram, well, there are many things about it, but there's this cope, you know, that a lot of people put in the comments. And, you know, of course, people can say this for many different things in many different domains. But, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, so what if there are better programs? No one uses them. Okay, that's true. There are a lot of the, you know, Matrix, XMPP, people don't use these protocols as much as they use Telegram. Well, actually, I don't know. Come to think of it, I'm not really sure now that I say that. XMPP is actually used in a lot of different things. People just don't know they're using XMPP. But the stupid thing is, like, Telegram came from literally nowhere. Like, no one in America used it before 2 years ago, okay? I think it was popular in, like, Russia and stuff before then. I don't know how long it's been around, but it's one of those things where, like, literally no one like, this is one of those projects that does not have, like, 2 years ago, it did not have, like, networking effects behind it. And so you could make the same arguments against that people make against its obvious superior alternatives today. So, anyway, I'm just thinking about that. So, like, I'll say usually, like, I like the position my channel has been in the past couple months, because I've not been doing many normie videos, so I don't get stupid comments. But now I mean, it doesn't hurt me to get stupid comments, I'll say that. It's more like, I cannot believe that there are people like this. Like, I cannot believe there are people who will get so emotional about things they don't know about, you know? So anyway, I will read donations there. You can give a super chat, but better to go there because YouTube takes all the money from super chats. That's just how they are, you know, 30%. And I will also, let me pull up the chat just in case, and I will check donations as well. But we'll talk about pretty much anything. I'm a little, I've been very constrained in time. I was thinking about continuing to do more and more videos, because I did like maybe five or so in a row. But I had friends come to town and they're staying with me. And I also, I didn't break my arm, but the other week, so I was running around, I was just playing outside at someone's house, messing with their dog, running around with the dog. And, you know, I just tripped or whatever, and I fell, and I broke my fall with my arm. And when I got up, I could not move my arm. It was like stuck. It was like stuck, you know, holding it upwards. I couldn't move it down. But it was just a muscular thing. In a couple of days, it was better. It still actually sort of hurts, but, you know, whatever. All right, so I'm going to read some donations. So this is one from Luke. He sends in $5. You often mention that alchemy is misrepresented and misunderstood. Could you clarify what you mean? When can we expect a podcast on it? Well, when I feel like recording it, I will. I've actually thought up a lot that I'll say in that podcast, but it might not be a podcast episode. It might be one of those, you know, 15 minutes I talk videos where I put like a video up on YouTube or wherever where it has memes. I might do it that way. As I said in the last video, when it comes to the podcast, I think I might take those videos I've been doing on like big brain topics and just sort of retroactively say, okay, this was all part of not related, because functionally it is the equivalent of not related, just with pictures. But as for alchemy, now firstly, the placebo, or like the only people you hear talking about alchemy nowadays are the Jungian people, who are like, oh, alchemy is all like personal development, it's all like psychology and stuff like that. That's all a bunch of crap. I don't want to say that, but like the thing about alchemy is, earlier, like in the classical world and in the medieval world, people viewed every topic, be that alchemy or chemistry or theology or everything else, as being sort of parallel to other topics. Okay, so when you talk about studying chemicals, what they viewed it as you can understand principles of chemical dynamics, and you can draw conclusions about other domains of life, right? So in the same way that, for example, the terminology that's used in alchemy, like substance and essence and dissolution, all of those terms were actually terms used in reference to the soul, or like how bodies are composed, like physical bodies and stuff. So alchemy, it's sort of like, people understood it as a way of looking at other disciplines and discovering things about the rest of the world, because it's a microcosm. I mean, that's another buzzword that they used to use, like microcosm, macrocosm, in the sense that you can understand something about chemical dynamics, and that leads you to understand something about the dynamics of the universe in general, right? So the same principles underpin everything. There's a fractal universe, everything is sort of parallel to other things. And, that might sound a little esoteric, but in the 20th century, there's a discipline that tried to do exactly the same thing. And that's called cybernetics. Okay, people misunderstand what cybernetics is. They think it means, something to do with robots, but really cybernetics, it means like systems governance. So people in cybernetics would study things in economics, or they'd study things in computer science that were all like, you learn something about one thing and it's analogous to other topics, right? It's really the studying of governing principles that might be behind many different topics. And it's the same thing in alchemy. They thought of it as discovering governing principles, right? So, I mean, in general, that's what's going on. There are more specifics to it. And of course, alchemy, like in any of these topics, right? Because of that, you can understand it on multiple different levels, okay? So you could, I know I just dismissed like the Jungian way of looking at things as like, a big, individuation as being some kind of personality, a self-discovery kind of thing. I dismiss it as that, but there is a sense in which you could have multiple interpretations of this kind of systems governance, systems approach to reality, right? Where you could have like a personal understanding of like a chemical property, right? But anyway, that's just a way of thinking of things. In general, that is a way of looking at alchemy. So let's see. BJ sends in $5. The SSPX says that television is an occasion of sin that has no place in Christian home. Do you agree? Wow, based. Yes, actually. Yeah, I think that's pretty undeniable. Like, I'm trying to think if there's any if there's any use of TV. Especially nowadays, and you guys know I'm not big on the internet. Like, I don't think people should spend too much time browsing the internet all the time. I think I spend too much time on it, frankly. I need to reduce my use of it. But television is even worse. I know there's some boomer tendency to always say the new technology is worse, but there's a sense in which the internet, at least you have the ability to do good things on the internet. Television, it's just nothing but, softcore pornography and like commercials and time wasting. Like, there's nothing. And you don't even have a choice in what you're watching, which can be good and bad, actually. Like, there is a sense in which the internet makes people even less, like, it makes them even more impulsive because they can see whatever they want. But there is a sense in which you have to have more attention span when watching a television. But the stuff on television is just garbage. Like, there's just nothing, you can't find good stuff on TV. Whenever I'm in a position where I have to watch TV, which every once in a while happens, like if I'm with some normies and they're sitting, watching TV and they're like, what do you want to watch? I'm at a loss for words for even what to do. But I'm definitely the kind of person, you shouldn't have a TV in your house at all. The first thing I did when I moved into my house, it was pre-furnished. First thing I did, move out the TV, because it's just like, I'm not going to use this stuff. It's not good. So yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's definitely an occasion for sin, but even omitting sin is just a waste of your time. Let's see. I'm going to pull up Super Chats. Let's see. I don't think anyone's actually given anything. All right, I'm looking at the chat. Oh yeah, a million people. Another normie question that I got on the Telegram video is, what about Signal? 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 That is like half the comments were like, talk about Signal, because Elon Musk talks about it. So like, I don't know, who cares? Yeah, but Signal's the same thing. I mean, Signal's much better than Telegram, because Signal is like actually end-to-end encrypted. So if you're using it for that, that's okay. But Signal, it's centralized, which is an issue, and I don't think that it would be easy to host your own. I don't actually know how it works. I think that their source code for the client or the server side is open source, but I don't know how easy it would be to actually like host your own version of Signal. Nonetheless, it also requires your phone number and all that kind of stuff. And like it's just outclassed. Like if you use something like the things I mentioned, XMPP or Matrix, there's no reason to use Signal either. But in terms of, I mean, if you want to get your normie friends or your parents, you know, to use a better text messaging program, yes, Signal is better. Like Signal is better than any, you know, your default messaging program in terms of security, but it's not like a serious pure privacy solution in the long term, because again, it's centralized. You have to give your phone number, and of course, if it's centralized, that means they have some good metadata about you and stuff like that. A better alternative, just XMPP or Matrix or Real Life. Real Life is the best messaging program you can use. People are going to look up on Google, what is Real Life, as if it's a program. Real Life, like, you know, uncapital R, uncapital L. Yeah, all those programs, Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp, they're all like normie tier. I mean, which you know, that's why a lot of new people. I mean, I actually look at my subscriber amounts, and that's usually my or like how many subscribers I'm putting on, and that's usually a good gauge of how many new people I'm reaching. And it went up a whole lot when I did that Telegram video, but that also means, you know, you have a lot of people who don't know stuff. But yeah, none of those, like, you shouldn't be using those kind of messengers for. Dude, just use Matrix if you're a normie. Matrix is just as easy to use as any of these programs, and it's end-to-end encrypted. It's federated. You can start your own server if you want. It's better. Okay. XMPP is probably the reason I haven't done a video on Matrix. I'll tell you, is because Matrix is really good, but XMPP is better. But I haven't really there's not a good normie-friendly way, so far as I know, to like acclimate people to XMPP. So that's why I haven't done videos on it. Just because I don't want to do a video on Matrix and get people using it, and then a couple months later get into XMPP and then be like, oh, this is better, which it is better. But you know, anyway. Marcio says, hi Luke, good morning. All right, thank you. It'll go to my Go to Brazil fund. Your reals. Okie dokie. Okay, so Ivy Pelsum donates $10. Just regular shout out from Ukrainian consumers. Thanks for your dot files. They are incredibly useful. All right, no problem. Paris sends in $2. Why are you not married yet? I don't talk about whether I'm married or not or anything. That's my policy. So you can think whatever you want. Yeah, I'm very careful about talking about personal. I mean, I don't mind talking about anything with respect to me, but if it involves someone else, I don't talk about it. All right, looking at the chat now. Why do you care about private messaging? You have something to hide? I assume that's a satirical comment, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, I did that video on social media a couple months ago, talking about, you know, a lot of people talk about social media with respect to like privacy, and you know that's something you got to worry about. But The more important thing is that all of these things that are taking your personal information and like watching your chats, they're mostly used, I mean, now they're being used for like AIs or even not AIs. They're being used to, you know, for social engineering means. So if you're using one of these privacy disrespecting like chat programs, even if you don't care, oh, I don't care about my privacy, you do, shut up, you do. But even if you quote unquote don't care, you are still making the world a worse place by basically giving your data to these people who are monitoring it. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing is stupid. The whole thing about like, you know, it's like they're trying to poison the discussion by saying things like this. They're trying to say things like, now I assume that this guy who said this comment does not mean it, because only dumb people say stuff like this. And there are no dumb people who watch my channel, of course. But, you know, it's just a way of, like, poisoning good solutions to things. Oh, you want things to actually be done in a sensible, decentralized, privacy-respecting fashion? Oh, you must be, like, a weirdo or a pedophile. Like, that's how people think. That's how normies, you know, normies and shills, like, try to market this stuff to people. In reality, like, people don't even realize how bad... I mean, I did that article... I read on my website maybe a month or so ago on why, you know, Monero is a better cryptocurrency than Bitcoin. One of the reasons, I mean, the biggest reason is that Monero is private, Bitcoin isn't. And a lot of people take that for granted, like, oh, I don't care about my financial privacy. Oh, I don't care that, I don't care if everyone in the world could see my bank account and how much I have and where I spend it and where I got it from. Now, firstly, no one in the real world, like, actually thinks that way. That's just like a cope to justify what they're doing now, because they're lazy to switch to superior alternatives. But what was I going to say? It's just one of those things where, like, people don't even think about what world you would be in if you didn't have financial privacy. Or if you didn't have, like... I mean, we're now moving to a place where more and more of your life is just being monitored. And for most of human history, that has not been the case. And the way to look at it is that is a permanent liability. It's not about what you have done or what you haven't done. It's not about what you said or you haven't said. With more passing years, that is more of a liability. It's more stuff that can be used to be part of AI to manipulate you, or social engineering in general. But it's also, you don't know, like, what kind of weird creepers... I mean, would you broadcast your financial transactions? Would you broadcast your personal information to creepers or stalkers or anything like that? No, no one would voluntarily do that. But if you're using technology like Bitcoin, or if you're using technology like, you know, a chat application that doesn't respect your privacy, you are exactly doing that. You're basically putting, you know, a red sign saying, hey, come exploit me, you know? So you might not have ever had to deal with something like that. And most people haven't. Like, what I'm trying to tell you is be wary of, like, black swan scenarios. Be wary of, like, the liabilities that you're establishing by using this kind of garbage, you know? Yeah, people are saying the audio is cracking. I know. It always cracks when I use my phone. I'm not quite sure why. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I actually brought my laptop and my microphone, but I didn't bring the cord that connects the two, so tough luck. We got to use the phone today. I'm thinking about doing what's it called? Maybe a weekly stream on PeerTube. So I might start scheduling that. But you guys know I have a hard time scheduling things on YouTube. It just, you know, dude, I'm a normie. I do normie stuff. I can't be bothered to be like a YouTube producer, you know. Yeah, people are just asking what about questions, so I'm getting annoyed. All right, let me check donations, see if we got anything. I want to work out. I know I've said this in other streams before, and I was trying to work on it. There's this team of people who's trying to make a super chat, allegedly trying to make a super chat thing for Monero, which I'd really like to do. Except for they've been working on it for like years, and you know, it's one of those projects where like they take in a bunch of money and they don't really do anything. I feel like it would not be, I mean, I'm not familiar with like writing anything with respect to blockchain technology, but I feel like it would be a very easy thing to do. Like, you just have a server with you know, a pruned copy of the Monero blockchain that you can host. I mean, you'd need a big quote-unquote server that held like 40 gigabytes or something like that, but it wouldn't be that bad, and you just have like a private view, or have the private view key for your address up there on your own server, of course, so you're not actually sacrificing privacy. And then have some simple front end for them to like send donations and automatically put in like a what's the little, I don't know, like the transaction, not the transaction ID, but you know, like the custom thing you can put in Monero to identify things with. Anyway, I feel like it'd be an easy thing to do, and there's a group of people theoretically working on it, like TipXMR, that's the project's name. But it's just been like, I don't know, they've been taking in, you know, donations and not doing anything or something. Hey Luke, I'm using rsync to manage my local church sermons on our website. Thanks for sharing such an awesome tool. Yeah, rsync is really great. I actually have a Normie friend who literally knows nothing about computers, but I helped him set up a website the other day, and I just told, all right, here's an rsync script, update your website, and then use that to sync it, and he can use it, and it's working. So, do you use Discord? I'm guessing that's a joke. No one uses... Discord is substantially worse than any of the other software projects I've mentioned, including Telegram. Discord is substantially worse. It's literally a proprietary spyware program that isn't... They call it Discord servers, having a Discord server, but that's like a lie. You don't really have your own Discord server. It's not free software. You can't actually host it yourself and do anything. It's not serious. Fight the Gamer sends in a donation. Hi Luke, do you still do linguistic stuff? What got you into linguistics? I don't do academic linguistics. I mean, academic linguistics is fake. They don't actually do anything important. Like if you go into linguistics as a discipline, at least if you go into like Chomskyan linguistics, that's like totally like a formal. It's like a glass bead game. It's a total. It's a farce. Like they don't do anything. Like, you know, it's just a bunch of creating smoke and no fire. So yeah, in like academic professional linguistics, to do something is to do nothing, and I don't do that. Now, what got me into linguistics is I guess when I was a teenager, I learned Latin and Greek, and then I got into Indo-Europeanism out of that, and historical linguistics, and then I went to graduate school in linguistics. This was right around the time of the financial crisis, right? So I was like, oh shoot, like there are no jobs. I'll just go to grad school. And I thought about going either into economics or linguistics. But economics, well, I'm not going to give you my personal reasons why for not going into economics. But you might think, oh, that would have been a better like job opportunity. No, not really, frankly. Anyway, so I went into linguistics, and I got sort of exposed to the Chomskyan stuff in my master's program, and I sort of did some of that. But, you know, knowing that it was a waste of time, but I was like, well, this discipline, they just misunderstand things. Maybe I can get through to them. You can't. Don't waste your time. That goes for any academic discipline nowadays. It's all theoretical momentum, institutional momentum. Like, they don't care about anything. It's just about publishing papers about really stupid minutia. So, I mean, on my website, I actually do have a page where I have some of my old papers, most of which were written after I cared. But, you know, they're still out there. Jake sends in 5 Australian. Appreciate the honesty in your videos. Thank you. Honesty about what? Who knows? But, you know, some kind of honesty. All right, so I'll check. EJH sends in $5. I was curious, since you are knowledgeable about languages, what are your thoughts on the Aramaic translation of Matthew 27:46? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Apparently a more accurate translation of Christ's words were, my God, this was my destiny. The latter seems to sound more characteristic for Christ. Thank you for your contributions to digital liberation and freedom. Well, I've never heard that specific thing. I've never really looked into that. But that's very interesting, because if that were the case, that would probably tell you that wherever the original place that Matthew... Well, I mean, Matthew allegedly, of course, is going to be getting his words from Mark. I mean, I think there's the general consensus that the writer of Matthew read Mark. But that would sort of indicate that there must be some kind of Aramaic core to Mark, even though all of the New Testament, right, was written in Greek originally. So that would probably indicate that there's some kind of Aramaic origin of all this. But I don't know. Yeah, I've never heard that. That's interesting, though. It would make a little more sense. It's a little weird to say, "Why have you forsaken me?" Obviously, the monophysites, right? Or well, no, not the monophysites. You know, the guys who believe. Well, maybe some monophysites believe that, but who believe that you know, God didn't suffer in the crucifixion, or it was just like some human. You know, those kind of people who don't think that God suffered and like God left the body on its death or something like that, Jesus's body on its death. So they have had a field day with that kind of off the cuff superficial interpretation. But yeah, I don't know. I've never heard what you're saying here though. That might make more sense. But as I said, I've never really looked into it. So either way, yeah. So for those who don't know Aramaic, though. The other interesting thing, I was talking about this the other day with someone. There's this guy who's publishing under a pseudonym. He published a book maybe 15 years ago. 15? Has it been that long? Jeez Louise, it's been like 15 years. This guy called Christophe Luxembourg. Again, it's a pseudonym. He published a book arguing that the Quran is similar to this. The Quran, if you take it, there are a bunch of passages that just make no sense. And he argued that all of these passages that make no sense, it's because they're actually originally written in Aramaic. And the Quran really was not originally written in the Arabic of Mecca. It was written in Aramaic. And, you know, he ultimately argued that the original Muslims were just anti-Trinitarian Christians that went out and formed a sect and, you know, wrote the Quran. And you have all this evidence that it was originally written in Aramaic. Now, there are a couple of specific things. Now, I haven't read the book in like 10 years, frankly. Or maybe less than that. Maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And in order to read this book, it's called the Syro-Aramaic Reading of the Quran, I think. Again, Christophe Luxembourg is the guy who wrote it. I have a copy of it. It's in my library. If you go to lukesmith.xyz/library, you'll get the exact title. Or you could just look it up online. Either way, so there, I remember there being a couple of his interpretations of verses that didn't really work or made more sense some other way, but either way, you know, it's interesting. But he was publishing under a pseudonym, obviously, to protect himself against, you know, Muslims who would be very upset about that. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting. It solved for a bunch of interesting problems in the Quran, but I don't know how serious it is. But in order to read it, you basically have to have pretty good knowledge of Arabic, German, and French, at least, because a lot of the stuff is just written in all that. All right, let's see. Artem sends in £5. What's your opinion on the arrest of Gypsy Crusader? Is free speech officially dead? I don't know who that is. Gypsy Crusader. I've never heard the name. Although is free speech officially dead? Yeah, it's been. Where have you been the past like 20 years? So Constantine sends in $5. Luke, can you record the troubleshooting video on an email server setup, especially how to fix DKIM problems? I mean, for DKIM, you just must have copied and pasted something in wrong. There's nothing much to do about it. I mean, you just copy and pasted something in wrong. That's about it. Unless you want to go back in and regenerate the DKIM key. But that's all you have to do. It's just, you copied something wrong. It would be weird for me to do a video on all that, but I guess there's also the SPF stuff, which you might copy wrong as well. But again, just use the all the tools that I linked about, oh, you know, here's how you troubleshoot problems and you should be fine. $2 from Nico Vicious. Is science cringe? Yeah, well, science is okay. Science, which is mostly what people talk about when they talk about science, is very cringe. Extremely cringe. I hate science. Lawrence sends in $25. What's your internet connection? What is your internet connection situation these days? Well, as you can see now, when I first moved down here, I could never even do a stream. Now, I raised money last year to get, like, this LTE antenna and all this kind of stuff. that I've gotten working in some places and I use sometimes, but I have not gotten it working at my house. But thankfully, I've gotten this plan with that money I raised. So the reason I can do streams now is because I have a cell phone with a plan that actually works, and I get like good coverage on it. And I also put some of that money down. I basically put money down on all these different things that might solve the problem. Because I don't think the LTE thing is going to work for my situation unless I just get like a better parabolic grid. But I'm also thinking about, I put money down on Soylink, on Starlink, in case that ever happens. I put $100 down to be on their freaking waiting list, exclusive waiting list, which is probably a scam because everything Elon Musk does is basically a scam. But if it works, and I'll be happy. So hopefully by the end of the year, they're supposed to be in my area. So hopefully that will be totally figured out, even if I can't get the LTE antenna working. So my internet at my house is like bad as always, but I deal with it, and I use my phone to upload. I'll go somewhere else and upload videos. Let's see. Andrew sends him $5. Is there anything you'd like to be more red-pilled on? Let's see. What would be the most? Let's see. What could I be more red-pilled on? I want to take the creationism red pill. I think I said in the live stream before, I want people to red pill me on creationism because I don't trust science at all anymore. You know, the whole thing. Like now that I've seen it from the inside, I'm like, yeah, this is a bunch of crap. And I think everyone nowadays is like, yeah, institutional science produces a bunch of nonsense. But what if creationism is actually based in red pilled? That would be one thing. I don't think it's actually true. I can't buy creationism, but maybe I'm wrong. So that would be one red pill that I'd be very surprised about. Flat Earth is cringe. Can't be red pilled on Flat Earth because Flat Earth is like a total psyop. The true red pill would be the Aristotelian geocentric universe. Flat Earth, no one ever believes that. No one ever believed that in the past. I mean, some people did, but like, that's cringe. The real red pill would be the Aristotelian geocentric universe. The Ptolemaic universe, right? Or let's see, what other red pills? Plasma cosmos, that would be... I got a book actually the other day. What was it? I haven't actually read it. The Big Bang Didn't Happen, or something like that. Which is supposed to be on plasma cosmology. It was published back in the 90s, I think, when plasma cosmology was going through sort of its heyday. But I haven't really read that. But it's mostly, these are these people who think like the universe is sort of plasma, emphasize the fact that like the plasma of the universe has like, all these electrical features, and a lot of the architecture of the universe is based on that. And the Big Bang, the Big Bang, when you think about it, is a really absurd argument because the whole thing comes from, redshift and the cosmic microwave background where, there are many different reasons to think that, redshift can happen from many other things, from things actually expanding. How light works in the universe could be systematically different. We have no reason to think, like, we haven't gone to any of these places to actually, I guess... Well, the way I put it in the article on my website, right, is that most of our, I guess, astrophysics data comes from, like, really rarefied and fragile assumptions. Like, we look at stars and look at the particular frequencies of light we get from them and make very specific conclusions of, like, their gas composition and all these other things. When in reality, like, if one little variable is off, everything we understand about the universe is wrong, right? And I think it's the same thing in redshift and the Big Bang in general, which I don't dismiss out of hand. I mean, a cosmic expansion, yeah, maybe it happens, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't think we have good reason to think that it happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's very possible that in, 20 or so years, we understand, that redshift in, all these different galaxies and stuff is an epiphenomenon of something else. And we misunderstood that data. So the whole idea of the expanding universe might be total nonsense, right? Or it might be stable. It might just be how light works in the cosmos that we don't understand. There could be anything that, like, scientists, I think, maybe not even scientists, maybe like popularizers of science, have this tendency to glom on to these like very visible things like redshift and, you know, Big Bang and stuff like that, and really run with it. Because it's easy to understand. But I think if you restrict yourself to the actual things that we know phenomenologically, our understanding of the universe is very slight. We don't really understand what's going on. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. So, so that said, I think it's a valid possibility that the universe could be like 10,000 years old, or like, you know, I'm not seriously saying, you know, I think that creationism is plausible, but I think it's a lot more possible than people think. I don't like how the lighting is resting on me right now. I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe I should go in the shelter actually. I'll probably end pretty soon. Nakovicius sends in $2. Also, any good sources on Phoenician? By the way, Lebanese Christians are not Arabs. Okay. Wow, Nassim Taleb has an alt account here. Yeah, I don't know that much about Phoenician or any resources on it, frankly. So I can't really help you out on that one. So, okay. So Daniel Cersei, I've thought about Matrix. I've thought about all that. I don't want to have to moderate a chat because I'm just not the person who talks. I only have Normie friends on, and we have some chats there. But it's just like chats, like I just don't do it, and I don't necessarily endorse like being on the internet all day and that kind of stuff. All right, there we go. Right, I'm trying to get SMP. There's this thing called Movim, M-O-V. Now you can't even. So whatever. Okay, that's a little better. There is this thing on for XMPP called Movim, which is kind of like a social media platform over XMPP where you can put out like blog posts and entries and stuff like that. And I thought about setting that up. I was having trouble actually setting it up. I forget what was going wrong. Something with Nginx. Actually, I don't know that. I think I just sort of left it when I ran into a problem. I tried twice setting it up and I screwed it up twice. You know, I feel sort of stupid for that, but I was trying to get, if anyone's ever used Movim before, feel free to give me advice. I wanted to set it up with Nginx, and I was using 10 package, and like gives you recommendations for setting up manually and installing it by the package, but like it puts things in totally different places, and the settings are in different places, and everything's done different, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna look at the chat, or let me pull it up. Are people saying it's slow or something? Okay, people are saying it's, I don't know. Can you hear? Is the audio good? See, it's on my side. It says, "Oh, yeah, we got good connection," but I'm not quite sure. All right. Audio's good. So is the picture breaking up? Because it's not breaking up on my side. Picture's blurry. All right, whatever. Luke, do you still have your search engine? I moved it to another domain. It's now circs.cedars.xyz. That's where it is now. Mateus sends in $5. Luke, I'll red pill you on creationism. Read about scripturalism, specifically Gordon H. Clark. He talks about how our senses are flawed and how our only revelational scripture is true knowledge. Jesus saith unto him, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. So, okay, well, that's fine. Like, it's very easy to say something like I want to red pill normies on it. Like, if creationism is true, I would like it to be, I mean, it would behoove it to be able to convince it to someone who isn't already a Christian. That's the whole point. Like, it should be, there should be enough evidence, there should be enough circumstantial evidence to convince someone. So saying something like, oh yeah, well, you know, it's just, you gotta have faith about it. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's not, it's not even that I disagree with you, but I'm talking to a popular audience here, very few of which are Christian. Very few of them are probably ready to be based and red-pilled on creationism, because that is like the biggest cringe thing, right? You know, creationism, there's nothing that people mock more nowadays, you know? So, to be able, I'd like to be able to actually put it in objective terms. You know, if, for example, carbon dating is nonsense, which, you know, I'm very open, I don't actually know that much about carbon dating, it might be total nonsense. Or if the way that people understand fossil evidence is nonsense, both of which I think are very, very valid possibilities, I want to be able to show that to someone objectively. So show that to even a gaytheist, you know? I mean, evolution is definitely cringe. I mean, Redditors believe in it, so it must be cringe, you know? But no, I mean, I've said before that I don't think believing in evolution is at all, you know, bad or something like that. But I don't. I'm open to the possibility of it being wrong for the first time in my life. When in reality, like if you're a Redditor, evolution is like the first thing you jump on to prove your intellectual superiority to people whose IQs are 5 points lower than yours. So I think it's probably nonsense, but then again, well, I don't want to say probably nonsense. I think there's a possibility that it's nonsensical, but. The issue is that in modernity, the materialist frame is indoctrinated into us at a subconscious level from birth and at the level of behavior. I mean, yeah, that's true, but like, if there's anything, I mean, for any spiritual truth or any revelation, it should be able to defend itself on materialist grounds. Yeah, you could have like a false materialist assumption, but there's going to be some point where it runs across materialism, you know? So there should be a way, like, and realistically speaking, if you're talking to these people, you sort of have to talk to them in a materialistic way, right? Okay, let me check. Is math good or waste of time? Math is good. Math is, I mean, if you have to go to college, math is one of the best majors you can have, possibly. Math is very good. Depending on what school you're in, philosophy can actually be a very good major. Most schools, philosophy is going to be very bad. But it is very possible you can be a high IQ person and get a lot out from a philosophy degree. It is very possible. Which that is like, that's the waste of my life major. No, that's not really true. Like, in terms of, if you're like a intelligent person, you know, I'm not talking about normies. For normies, philosophy, don't go into it. You're stupid. Don't bother. But if you're like an actually intelligent person, like genetically gifted, philosophy might actually be a good idea if you go there at a good school. But math, it's hard to go wrong with math. Math can be normie friendly. If you want to go into any other serious discipline, I mean, let's say, you know, I mentioned I did a degree in economics. Let me tell you what, if you want to go to grad school for economics, having an economics degree is okay, but having a math degree, that's actually better. In fact, that goes for a lot of things. Like, math degrees mean a lot more. Proofs are some of the best. You know, learning how to do proofs efficiently and elegantly, one of the best skills you can learn for everything. I mean, for computer science, for economics, for, you know, any kind of formal logic, like doing math is, you know, it's a good it's a good study habit. So yeah, like math is one of the best things you can possibly do in terms of like formal education, because mostly everything else is like ephemeral. Like if you, let's say you major in history, you're going to be taught lies. Like, I mean, history is all like most other disciplines can be manipulated by the political environment, and they are being manipulated by the political environment. And even things that you don't think of as being political, like when I went to school for, you know, when I said I went to grad school in linguistics and did a lot of formal stuff, I did a lot of computer stuff, I did a lot of historical linguistics, like the more rigorous side of linguistics, but still, like, there's so much subjectivism in it that, and so much institutional momentum behind, you know, the particular paradigms that exist in the field already, that it's not worth your time, frankly. Mathematics, however, is relatively uncorrupted. It's hard to corrupt it. But, you know, it's probably someone's going to send me an email after this live stream saying, oh, here's the red pill on academic math, it's actually cringe or something. But and it's not just okay, that's just the nature of social science. No, it's not just the nature of social science. That's what I want you to say. Like, it's the same thing in physics. Like, it's the same thing. I mean, it's in all disciplines. I think that math has escaped it, because math isn't even the thing with physics is what you discover, quote unquote, in physics is still based on like very specific theoretical assumptions. The only part of physics that's going to survive any kind of paradigm shift is the mathematical portion of it. Okay, and when I say mathematical portion, I don't mean having equations for things in the universe in physics, because that won't survive. I'm talking like the raw math of it, like the raw proofs behind it. Like math is the only thing that's going to survive. Okay, so if you think that like most theoretical programs are total scams, which you should think nowadays, if you don't think that, you will learn more and you will think that. But math is basically the only place where you can go to have a refuge from that and have something that's going to survive once those theoretical programs have passed away. Okay, physics will not survive. Okay, like mainstream physics, post-Einsteinian physics, quantum mechanics physics, like this stuff, I guarantee you, like, once the United States falls and they stop funding the particular approaches to physics that they fund, there will just be a new kind of physics with radically different assumptions, radically different views of the universe. I just view that as not even being a question. Like, it's gonna change. I think, again, I think I referred to this not by name, but I did an article on my website a while ago, which you can go, you know, lukesmith.xyz and look for the article. I think it's in the science tab or whatever. But it's called Physics is Fragile. And I talk sort of about this, not really in specific terms. But, you know, this is the thing that people forget is a lot of the things that we know in any of these fields, including things that seem really well attested in physics, they're based on very particular assumptions that can change very quickly. Okay, that is not the case in math. So it's not a quote unquote, I don't believe in the difference between hard science and soft science. Or if you do want to use that term, the only hard science is math. Okay, everything else is a soft science. But yeah, physics is definitely not. Actually, I think in that article I said something like, you know, the findings that we have in linguistics, they're much more empirical, they're much more well-grounded, and they're much more theoretically external. They're phenomenological. They're going to be constant once there's a paradigm shift in linguistics, whereas that's not the case in physics. Okay, so there's a sense in which linguistics, which anyone would call a soft science, a social science, but there's a sense in which linguistics is a much more hard science than physics. Okay, and I'm not saying that to get a rise out of anyone. That's just how it is. Like, honestly. Amar says, will you ever make a video on Discord? No, because like no serious people use it. Like, I don't know, maybe I should, but I think people are moving away from it. But I mean, you know the only kind of people who use Discord. I could say the kind of people they are on PeerTube or on Library, but I can't say it here, but you know the kind of people. Confused people. Luke, do you have an OnlyFans? This is my OnlyFans. Oh, I should probably check donations. Okay. All right. BJ sends in $5. You can't have a proper, full religious or philosophical view without studying quantum mechanics. Thoughts? No. Not really. I mean, quantum mechanics, it sort of applies to the same thing I said before. Yeah, I'm sorry, the video here is looking very ridiculous. It sort of applies to the same thing I said before. Like, I think it's very possible that our interpretation of quantum phenomena is going to change radically in the next... I'm trying to find a good angle. All right. Yeah, there's a... Shoot, I'm just not happy with any of this. I need to just, like, manually, put my hand up so you don't see the glare. Yeah, I think the same thing is true with quantum mechanics. I think that, at some level, you can look into it, and you'll be like, wow, like, everything we know about the universe, we're actually just one giant entangled universe, and, like, everything else, the actual reality of everything is, in this quantum indeterminacy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff which, might be true or might not, but it is reliant on a lot of very rarefied experiments that I think it's premature to generalize. Now, I do think that quantum mechanics probably, maybe this is controversial, but I think quantum mechanics has a lot stronger basis than, like, relativity. I know that sounds ridiculous, but specifically, or I shouldn't say relativity, okay. I should say the idea, I should really say the idea of time dilation, okay? Because a lot of people, when they say relativity, they really mean time dilation. I'm very skeptical of the idea of time dilation the more I read into it. Now, you can have relativity without time dilation, okay? But really, I think that time dilation is a kind of historical misunderstanding of, like, the quote-unquote twin paradox that even Einstein was, like, not even on board with. And I think the evidence for so-called time dilation is very rarefied. It's like, look how this one particle decays, as it's being moved, shot in a particle accelerator. Therefore, this must be time dilation. Therefore, the twin paradox, stuff like that. So I do think that, like, quantum mechanics is actually probably better attested in terms of the experiments you can do with it, and, like, in more general circumstances than, like, time dilation. But that's me giving an amateur opinion. I don't claim to know the red pills on either of these things. I'm just saying that I think the evidence, and this is just in general, this is not to even poke fun at these particular scientific ideas. I think just in general, people overstate the extent to which these things are well evidenced, because I don't think that they are. I think that they're, in 100 years, it's very possible for us to say, we had these funny notions back then, based on the fact that we couldn't see past this, like, empirical generalization. That's all I'm saying, okay? So I'm not saying everything's a lie, but I'm saying it's possible that things are misunderstandings. Okay, Janus, I don't know how you say it, but he sends in $5. Check out Jonathan Peugeot on YouTube to see how to communicate with materialists about religion, and you will see the issue communicating these topics, but he does the best anyone can. I also recommend his brother's book, The Language of Creation, by Matthew Peugeot. I'll look him up, Jonathan Peugeot. Let me write that down, because I'll forget it. Okay. Nikovicius sends in $5. I work with mathematical physics, but I think what's actually cool about physics, or at least what physicists pretend to like, is how fragile it is, conceptually speaking, without ever getting completely obsolete in practical matters. Yeah, I think there's truth to that. I mean, you do have to think about, let's say astrophysics. People take this for granted that very particular things in astrophysics, how we view light, how we view, like, redshift, how we view this or that, or the composition of stars, can totally change our view of, is there going to be a big bang, big crunch, whatever, can totally change our view about the history of the universe. So all I'm saying here is that even in the most absurd interpretation, let's say creationism, because we were talking about it before, there are only a couple theoretical variables you have to change to make something that seems absurd seem very plausible, you know. And I think that is that's the case. Like it is fragile. There are a lot of things that can break in it, and yeah, there are like physics, like in terms of the physics of the Earth, the physics of shooting a cannonball, stuff like that. We might have a very good idea of how that all works, but things break down very quickly when we're out of our, I don't know. Like it all becomes theoretical very quickly once you depart from what we know intuitively. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't buy the flat Earth thing. Flat Earth would be very cool if it existed. That would be very esoteric. But yeah, no, that's not a thing. I just, again, get a geocentric Aristotelian universe where there's the Earth and all the planets circling it with retrograde orbits. Okay, and you got the sun and the moon in there as well. And then you have celestial spheres, or like celestial. Different shapes, like, polyhedron or whatever it is. That's a true red pill, kids. All right. See how long I've been going. About an hour. I'm actually pretty tired. Maybe I should go eat soon. I'm trying to think what my I think I mentioned I have people staying at my house. I don't know what they're doing now. I think they left to go get breakfast, and I woke up after they left. I don't believe in breakfast, and I'm actually I don't eat breakfast. I mean, I do if I'm being polite with people, but I never eat breakfast, and I also very rarely eat lunch. I usually just eat one large meal at the end of the day. That's just how I am. In fact, like, once you start doing that, it's very hard. You realize how it affects your testosterone levels. I need to do videos on this, like the hormonal red pill, like how much of your life is just hormones. And if you're like low energy, I mean, it's because you're staying up late at night and you don't have a circadian rhythm, and therefore your hormones are all screwed up. Or you're eating large breakfasts, which is like that's like, if you want to turn someone into like a goy cattle, you feed them big breakfasts, because that like immediately lowers your testosterone levels, and you just become like totally apathetic and just want to fall asleep. But same thing with cooming, honestly. That's why cooming is such a huge problem. I wanted to do a video on this, but I feel like people would think I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. Like, there's a sense in which the modern world one of the ways that it has created modern people, like men who aren't really men, is because it can control people's hormones, right? You have a low T level because you stay up all night and you watch TV, and then you coom to porn like 5 times a day or something if you're, a coom. Or even one time a day is like, even one time in your life is too much. But, it's one of those things where when you step back and look at it, it's like, oh, these people are being like conditioned like animals with hormone control to keep their T levels low, to keep them apathetic, to keep them like passive and like consuming rather than like questioning the things they're doing. There's a sense in which there is a hormonal war going on, and I don't think people realize it. Very deep esoteric level here, but it's true. You'll laugh at it, but you're wrong. Raw garlic, yeah, eat raw garlic. They say that they increase, that garlic and onion increase your testosterone levels, but honestly, dieting when it comes to lowering or raising your testosterone levels, honestly, most of it is just you're just eating junk food. Just stop eating junk food. Stop eating sugar. Like, totally cut sugar out of your diet, and that'll be most of it. And a lot of people ask me after that, oh, what red-pilled foods should you eat? And I'm sort of like, you can eat anything as long as it's not like processed food or sugar. Like, that's really my opinion on it. Like anything that vegans eat is bad. That's a good heuristic in the sense that, like, eating beans are not good for you. Anyone who tells you that, they're not good for you. Or anything like overly fibrous, anything with a lot of sugar. Basically, the entire vegan diet is, I mean, independent of animal products or not animal products. Like, vegans just eat terrible things. Like, if you are actually a vegan, which you definitely shouldn't be, because that's the best way to, like, lower your testosterone level and, like, slowly kill yourself. But if you were a vegan, it would be better to eat rice and potatoes and stuff like that rather than freaking beans and this crap they eat. Beans and lentils and, like, all these, you know, things they eat for protein that are, like, indigestible fiber. Oh yeah, and avoid plant oil unless it's Lindy. I mean, that's another thing. Like, I cook in lard, I cook in butter, and if I need some kind of plant oil, I'll use olive oil because it's Lindy. Okay, like, what people don't understand about vegetable oils is they were not even, I mean, it's sort of like, you ever heard of Listerine? I don't know if people outside of America have Listerine. It's this stuff that people, like, it's this, like, thing that kills bacteria in your mouth, and people do it for, like, bad breath. It really just makes your breath even worse because bacteria just replicates even more. But Listerine was originally developed for something to clean the floors with, and eventually someone put it in their mouth and they're like, oh, it'll kill bacteria in your mouth, and it'll kill you if you swallow it. But anyway, same thing happened with vegetable oils. It was like all these companies have this industrial byproduct, vegetable oil. You know, they'll process foods, and they're like, we have all this trash, we're just throwing it away. And, you know, during the 40s and 50s, they're like, let's try and sell this to people. We'll say, oh, butter is bad, lard is bad. And they tried to sell vegetable oil and vegetable shortening and all this trash to people. It's literally an industrial byproduct. And now you look at it, and it perfectly corresponds, like, your consumption of vegetable oil perfectly tracks with your chance of getting heart disease and crap like that. Meanwhile, these people are trying to pass off heart disease as being, like, I want people to remember, back when people cooked everything in butter and lard, no such thing. They're like, the word heart disease did not exist. Like, the first heart attack in America is sometime in the, like, maybe late 1800s. It might be the early 1900s, okay? Everyone was eating butter and lard and everything. But vegetable oils and stuff like that, yeah, that's where it all actually comes from. So if you just cut that out of your diet, that's a big thing, too. Do you have a study to support your claim that beans are bad, unironically? I mean, I'm not going to freaking pull up a source right now. I mean, think about it, though. Like, these are, they are fibrous. I mean, fiber by definition is stuff you can't digest, firstly. And most of what anything fibrous does is it cleans your system out. Now, if you have a trashy processed food diet and you eat a bunch of this plastic crap that people basically can't digest, you might actually need fiber because fiber gets this stuff out of your body. But for someone who has a healthy diet and is eating fiber, fiber is just flushing undigested food that you're still getting nutrients out of your body. You know, so that's why a lot of people call it, like, beans are basically anti-nutrients. Okay, well, they actually have some stuff in them that is, you know, bad for you on top of that. But just in general, like, the idea of, like, mass consuming fiber is, like, incredibly bad because it's only for stomach relief for people who eat freaking Cheetos and Doritos all day. Okay, if you have a healthy diet, beans are just, like, they're not a part of your healthy diet. I mean, I'm not saying, like, you can't eat them. I'm not gonna do the spherage thing where, like, oh, anti-nutrients and, like, just autistically screech about it. But I agree with them that they're not healthy foods, but, like, it's not that I avoid them all the time, but the idea that they're healthy is just, like, nonsensical. Master Bane sends in $5. Check out Jay Dyer for base creationism. I've looked up Jay Dyer. People always tell me to look at him. His videos are too long. And I've looked at his stuff on creationism, and I think it's mostly just, you know, I mean, it's the same thing with the intelligent design people. I think their arguments are just bad, frankly. I don't think that they can put arguments on materialist foundations, which is what they really have to do if they rhetorically want to reach people. So, rip in peace, your gut flora. Yeah, anti-nutrients. Yeah, everyone's talking about spherage. All right, let me check my check donations. D Gray sends in $10. Luke, when do you plan to paint your Ford estate card camouflage exactly like Varg's UAV for the meme? Yep. Well, the funny joke. I was actually thinking about buying a car, though. I will say that. Does anyone know what the ThinkPad of cars is? Like, because I don't know anything about different car brands. I don't have any kind of skin in the game. I don't have any kind of horse in the race. I'm just curious if someone has an opinion on what a good car would be. Like, if I'm just looking for brands. I want to get a used car. Obviously, I'm not going to get a freaking new car. But it's just not too much money. But so I don't want to spend that much. I definitely don't want to spend more than like $10,000 or something like that. I think spending more than $10,000 on a car is like beyond cucked. But hey, people do it. There are people, you got to think about it. If you go to a used car dealership and they have these cars that are like 3 years old, you have to grapple with the fact that there are actually people who buy new cars, drive them for like a year, and then like sell them back at like a massive loss. Utter morons. I mean, I guess they're just filthy rich, but I'm not filthy rich, so sorry. Luke, what about cold showers? Yeah, same thing with testosterone levels. Don't take warm showers. Definitely don't take hot showers. Don't take warm showers, but if you do, make sure it's not touching your wiener. Dude, if you hot water on your testicles will literally... I mean, if you go into a hot tub, you are sterile. I don't think people realize this. I mean, that's why... Well, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that's not appropriate for a YouTube stream, but that's why it goes up and down, for temperature reasons. It can't... Your semen immediately dies on... or sperm, I should say, immediately dies on contact with hot water or, like, any warmth. That's why you have... a retracting genitals. That's the whole point. So, yeah, don't take hot showers. You're gonna lose not just your fertility, but you're gonna lose your freaking testosterone level, frankly. And yeah, take a cold shower. The first time you do it will be like super cold. Take it super cold, like all the way cold. The first time it'll be like extreme pain, but then you'll learn to love it. And you'll be like, you'll get in a shower and you'll be like, oh, oh. Like that's how a cold shower is. Literally. All right, you guys who are suggesting cars, email them to me because I can't see it all in the chat. I need to look at it later. Yeah, with reasoning. Don't just give me a, I don't know. Don't just give me a name. I want to know why it's like a good car. What is the ThinkPad of cars? I should just do a video on that. Burden Space sends in $1. What's your thoughts on communities 3D printing guys in Europe? Could it change gun laws? Oh, I guess he meant guns in Europe. Could it change gun laws in Europe? I don't know if it'll change laws, but it might make them irrelevant. I mean, that's arguably, the important things. A lot of people talk to me. People in cryptocurrency will talk about this all the time. Like, oh, what if the government makes this or that illegal? And the whole point, or actually in technology in general, and I will say the same thing all the time. Like, don't fight on the legal front, okay? Don't put your horses in at the legal front. Like, you can fight on the legal front, but don't expect to win. Make technologies that are not censorable. Make technologies that make the laws irrelevant. I'm not even telling you violate a law. I'm telling you to use technologies to make it irrelevant, okay? And they can try to ban things. Like the U.S. tried to ban way back in the day, and we should be so happy that this happened. But the U.S. back in the day tried to ban end-to-end encryption, okay? If it had banned that, like there'd be no internet. Or if there were, it would be like... it would be like scammers all over the place stealing every password you put in every site. It would be a nightmare, if end-to-end encryption were banned. But the important thing is end-to-end encryption. There's a sense in which you can't really ban it. I mean, you could come for companies that use it, but like there's nothing keeping me from using my GPG key to encrypt a secret, and, you know, only so you can read it with your GPG key pair. So there's nothing, like, build a technology that's not censorable. It's the same thing in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, now I have my complaints about Bitcoin. I've talked about them, mainly Bitcoin's lack of privacy. But there's a sense in which Bitcoin is not freaking censorable, okay? You cannot stop a Bitcoin transaction, all right? Iran, the other month, or maybe a couple weeks ago, said they want to ban Bitcoin transactions out of the country. That is absolutely unenforceable. I mean, you can enforce it in like you can enforce it after it happens, you know what I mean? That's the important thing. Well, no, it's an unimportant thing. But the important thing about Bitcoin is you can't go in the blockchain or go into miners and say, oh no, you can't approve this transaction, all right? It's not censorable. So even if it's monitorable, as Bitcoin is, because it has a public blockchain, it's not censorable. And of course, Monero does one better because Monero is actually private. So you don't even have to worry about people watching your transactions, okay? I'm thinking about doing another video on Monero talking about, you know, why it should integrate zero knowledge proofs and stuff like that. But, you know, maybe that's basic stuff. Mateus says, cars are bloated by a horse. Carrots are cheaper than gas. Yeah, that is true. Hare Krishnan sends in, I guess that's 200 rupees. I'm not quite sure. What are your thoughts on NixOS and Geeks? The same thoughts that I give every single stream when I talk about them. I've never used them. I probably won't use them, but I mean, they're both interesting ideas as for how to do a distro, and they probably actually do things better, realistically speaking, than most, you know, in terms of package managing than other distros. You know, those who are interested in like trying to figure out a cool distro that is arguably better built than most, you might want to look into NixOS or Geeks, but I will probably never use them because I have no reason to. So Luke should put all his life savings into Monero. Oh, I don't have any Monero. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, cryptocurrency last week, or I guess in the past couple of weeks, has been going down like a whole lot. A lot of people are panicking, saying like, oh, it's the end of the bull run, it's all over, it's crashing. I actually don't. I would say I do not think so. And if it does, I mean, I'm the kind of person, if you have freaking Bitcoin especially, I mean, if you have any good asset, it doesn't matter if it goes down. I mean, cryptocurrencies are so predictably cyclical at this point that if you freaking hold Ethereum or Bitcoin and it's going down, there's really no reason for you to ever sell it until it... the worst thing that could happen is, oh, well, I'll have to wait 2 or 3 more years till the next bull run. So, I don't know, a lot of people freak out about this cryptocurrency stuff. Well, mainly the reason is there are all these hype beasts on YouTube and other places who are like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to be 500,000 this year, or 250,000, you know. And, I don't know. I don't think about it. I think the best, for anyone who's actually in Bitcoin, I think the best way to think of it is like not really think of it as being comparable to money, like it's just a different domain. Don't think in terms of making a profit. Think of it in terms of, I'm buying into a future financial system, and I'm not going to think about it in terms of American dollars. That's the best recommendation I can give to someone. But, Monero is actually usable. But just in general, yeah, never mind. Forget about that. I'd buy the dip and put a take profit at 10x. I mean, you don't know. Like, the thing about it is, a lot of people pretend, like, again, all these YouTube hype beasts who are doing videos on cryptocurrency, they all know, or they all, like, talk about things like they know where they're going, you know what I mean? And they clearly don't. Like, they've been wrong. Like, every one of those guys is wrong every single day about something. They're right about things, too. But it's more like they're just shooting in the dark. They're just talking out of their butts. Like, it's very possible that cryptocurrency, doesn't hit 50,000 for the rest of the year. I think it's very possible that happens. I think it's more possible it's going to, be a good bit higher than that. But, like, I don't really want to bet on it. Like, I'm just not that kind of guy. Now, if you do want a cryptocurrency channel, and I guess most people who are saying no about him. The only guy who's worth watching is the guy Benjamin Cohen, and that's not Jewish Cohen, that's Gaelic Cohen, C-O-W-A-N, or maybe it's E-N. He does good videos. He's not a hype beast. He just does long-term, price analysis, and that's about it. But I think I watched a video of his a little bit ago, and he was talking about, he thinks it's going to go up after this. But anyway, like what I'm trying to say is if you actually believe in the technology, it shouldn't matter. You should just hold it for 10 years. You know what I mean? If you don't believe in the technology, don't get into it. Why? Don't put your money on freaking Pajit coins, Not financial advice. People are asking, do I have gold or silver? I actually do have some small amount of silver just by virtue of, my grandfather's coin collection. So I probably have a couple $100 in silver, but like not enough to, it's just locked away. I was actually counting it the other day though. I was going through it all. I have, some of the old, back in the day when America used to put real money in their money, back when coins were like 90% silver. I have a good bit of old currency. But I don't have like ingots or anything. I'm not that rich. Sorry, guys. In fact, I'm not rich at all. All right. Speaking of which, wow, no donations since I last checked. So I'll just read the chat for now. What creates the value of Monero? Limited supply? I don't know where you're coming from in that question. Like, the funniest thing to me is when a boomer comes to you and they'll ask, they want to quiz you. They want to like test you and be like, oh, well, where does the value of Bitcoin come from? Like, dude, I don't care. Like, if you don't want to buy some, don't buy some. Like, I don't care. Like, the weird thing is all these freaking, there are a bunch of people antsy. Now, I'm not saying that this guy was saying this, just to be clear, but there are a bunch of people when it comes to cryptocurrency that they become very stupid and they become very jealous of people who freaking bought in, years ago or something like that. And that's understandable. Like, a lot of people made a lot of money on Bitcoin. So I think everyone else's first reaction, if you don't have any, or if you had some and you sold it, is to like shoot those people down, right? So they'll create these like really long chains of like demands they want you to answer about Bitcoin. Where does it come from? It's just computing hashes. I don't even understand. What does that mean? Why should that be valuable? I mean, it has no use. Anyway, it's just like incredibly cringe when someone does that because it's just like, okay, don't buy it. Don't buy it. If you don't understand it, don't bother. Whatever. If you don't get it, but I mean, yeah, there is a sense in which, to this guy's question, there is a sense in which, yeah, the value is mere scarcity, okay? Now, Monero, more than Bitcoin, is actually freaking usable because Bitcoin is not a fungible currency, therefore it's not a currency because Bitcoin is not private, which means Bitcoin is a way of transferring value if you want people spying on you and robbing your house and like wrench attacking you and stuff like that. Bitcoin is a good thing for that. But if you actually want to transfer value and do it securely in the way that a currency should and like privately, you use something like Monero. So yeah, that's why you use Monero. Now Monero does have tail emission, which means that it doesn't have like a cap supply at 21 million or whatever. Now that doesn't mean Monero has an infinite supply, but it means like every year it inflates at an ever-decreasing percentage, basically. And that's to make sure that people will continue to mine it. All right, $5. The guy says, I made 15K euro and 19K US dollar with Shiba by accident. That Shiba, that's like a scam pump and dump coin. Did not know that I had it. I have put it in stocks. Do you think I should, this sentence isn't really correct. Do you think I should put XMR with it? Or put it in XMR, I guess? Or keep it in stocks? Regards from the Netherlands. I mean, it depends on a lot of things. I'm not going to give you advice about it. Do you think there's going to be a stock market collapse, or do you think that Monero is... I mean, Monero's a lot lower than it was like a couple weeks ago, so you might want to think about that. But I mean, when it comes to digital currency, I think it's hard. You can't beat Monero right now in terms of, again, I don't care about prices, but in terms of actual usability, because it's an actual private currency. So why do people invest in an unusable cryptocurrency like Bitcoin? Well, a lot of them are under the mistaken impression that Bitcoin works like Monero and that it's private, but it ain't, you know. It's very easy to monitor. But it's one of those things where a lot of it's a misunderstanding, but realistically speaking, a lot of people get into it just because, like, Bitcoin might be a better investment than Monero short term, because people are using it like a Bitcoin maximalist. They don't actually endorse using Bitcoin as a currency, okay? Like, you talk about these people like Michael Saylor or the Winklevoss twins or these kind of people. Like, they're not really talking about Bitcoin as being a currency. They're just talking about it being a store of value. Like, you just put money in it and you just keep it and hold it and withdraw it later. And maybe when you withdraw it, like 20 years in the future, there's a good private way to get it out. But they're all about, let's just get money in this blockchain system, and then we'll build layers on top of it that actually function as a currency, okay? And that's like the classic Bitcoiner cope, because Bitcoin, like, does not work as a currency, you know? That's what they have to believe. But I think there is a case to be made that is true. Like, Bitcoin can function merely as a store of value. That's what it's doing right now. It's just a way, you know, if you think there's going to be hyperinflation, you know, it's a good idea to put your money in Bitcoin, okay? Or if you think that the Bitcoin system, the Bitcoin network, is going to expand to more people, and more people are going to put money into it, which is very, very likely because it's usable. It's an easier place to store value than gold, and it's easier to transfer money because you can transfer money across the world instantaneously, quote unquote, over 30 minutes. You know, it's a lot easier than gold, right? So Bitcoin is it does have massive advantages as a store of value, and it is just the one that everyone uses. So I totally think, I know I put out an article saying I'm a Monero maximalist, and I think that, you know, it's a long-term serious currency. But in the short term, people are going to keep using Bitcoin. That's how it is. And, you know, the way I put it to people is people are going to use Bitcoin as a savings account to keep their money in, and they use Monero as a checking account, okay? That is, and they transfer, when you have good atomic swaps between both of them, it's going to be very easy to transfer between both of those. And what that will actually give you is it'll give you the networking effects of Bitcoin, in that you can have, you know, the Bitcoin speculator's price, which is a little bit more stable than other currencies. And it also gives Bitcoin the privacy features of Monero. If you're transacting with Bitcoin through Monero, like if you're using it as a savings account, like if you get paid via Monero, then transfer it to a Bitcoin address, and then later transfer it through Monero to pay for something, you get the benefits of Monero while using Bitcoin. Now, of course, that's an unnecessary step. You might say, why don't I just use a checking account? Why don't I just use Monero? And that's right. But what I'm saying is, through, you know, I think what is happening to people who actually use cryptocurrency, who all use Monero, because that's the only freaking serious one, everything else is just speculation or technology projects or stuff like that. You know, like funding mechanisms for corporations. The people who actually use cryptocurrency basically already use it like that. They don't have atomic swaps between Monero and Bitcoin, but that's basically how they're using it. What use do you get with crypto? What are you actually buying with it except drugs? You can use crypto to buy anything else you can buy with American dollars at this point, okay? You can even, I mean, firstly, every internet company at this point basically accepts cryptocurrency, all the good ones. You can pay your hosting provider in Bitcoin or something like that. They really should integrate Monero in most of these, but you know, Monero is used in the dark web. But, you know, Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff, all these kind of cryptocurrencies are much you know, they're being normalized in all of the internet, so you can pay for all of that stuff. You can also just, I mean, nowadays you can actually just buy gift cards. There are companies where, let's say you want $100 to spend at freaking Amazon for some reason. Well, you can just get there are companies where you can just buy gift cards and stuff like that. So you can basically have your American dollars if you want, instantly, in a lot of cases anonymously, through cryptocurrency. So, like, I mean, there are people I know or have heard about who live on cryptocurrency. It's very easy. And it's easy to, once you know how to do it, once you know how to do things like, let's say, local Bitcoin, local Monero, these kind of peer-to-peer networks where you just exchange money with someone. I mean, it's as easy as having a bank account. You know, you basically say, oh, I want to cash out, you know, send American dollars to this address, and I'll get my cryptocurrency, or anything like that. You know, it's super easy. Scalenesque sends in $7.99 Australian Land Cruiser older. Land Cruiser older is better. Go diesel. No ECU. ECU system is unreliable unless replaced entirely. No good free ECU for car. Buy diesel. Buy mechanical diesel. I guess he was trying to squeeze all that onto one comment. I will write that down. I guess that's a car. I guess he's talking about a freaking car here. All right, let me check donations. Okay, yeah, I got some. $1. Have you read Growth of the Soil by Knut Hamsun? Reading it made me want to move out of the city and learn to grow more vegetables. No, I have not read that. I've never even heard of that. Knut Hamsun. That's Knut, for those interested. Bill says, bought some ETH on the dip. Also got a Lenovo X220 with LARBs, but don't use it as much. Keep on rocking in the free world. All right, great, thank you. Okay, so the other day I was thinking about getting, now you guys know if you watch my channel for like 5 years, years ago I used to have a ThinkPad X200, and it ended up breaking, and that's when I got this X220. Actually, there was another X220 that broke, and I got this X220, but you know, when you're buying a computer for 90 bucks, it doesn't matter. What was I gonna say? So I was looking for an X220 or X200 on eBay, and there's like none of them, or those that exist are super expensive. It's crazy. They like have totally disappeared over the past couple of years. Now, 5 years ago, you could go on and see them all over the place, but they're nowhere now. And I'm worried like the same thing's going to happen to the X220. So I might, I wanted an X200 because I wanted a LibreBoot computer again, but I don't know. So I'm going to do a video. Now, in the past, now you guys know I'm not big into doing reviews of products or like consumer reviews or whatever. But there have been a couple times when people have, like laptop companies who refurbish ThinkPads and put like good privacy respecting Linux on them. They've asked me to like review their products. You know, they'll send me one for free and I'll review it. Except for I've never done that because I'm never like, I don't want to do that. That seems like shilly. Even if they're not paying, they're just giving me a product or whatever. But honestly, I sort of want a new ThinkPad, so I might like just do a video being like, hey, if you want me to review your stupid, very, very good. It's good if people do this. If you have a company that is taking old ThinkPads and putting Linux on them and selling them, especially if you core boot them, that's a good thing. But yeah, I probably should do that. Be like, I'm sort of looking for a computer. Someone have one they want me to review for your company? Because there was a company a couple months ago that did that. That made like Cubase OS computers, and they wanted me to review it, but I think I just, you know, didn't respond to an email. Like we chatted for a little bit, and then I, you know, whatever. But I should be more interested in getting freebies. You know what I mean? All right, another donation from that guy who donated before. I'm trying to turn 15K into 100K so that I can have a down payment on a house. Okay, housing market here is cucked. A house here is at least 300,000. Jeez Louise, if you are lucky. And I'm not getting a mortgage higher than 200,000. Anyway, my question is, what do you think about the current housing market? Yeah, the housing market is freaking insane right now. Firstly, I'd recommend move to a small town. That should be number one. That should cut out half of that bill. But I will say even prices here are way up what they were, a couple years ago before the Holocaust pandemic. So, like, I would definitely contemplate moving to a place where things are cheaper, firstly. I mean, maybe you have to be out there, I don't know. But if you could cut that bill in half, that potential price in half, that would be freaking great. You can still get cheap houses, but yeah, the housing market is crazy. I think that either it is going to collapse very soon, within the next year, or it's just the first showings of hyperinflation, and things are going to get even worse. So if you want to make a quick buck, if you want to 10x, man, I can't give you a reliable 10x. I think there's a chance. No. I don't think Bitcoin will do a 10x like in the rest of the bull run. Like, I think that even, $250,000 Bitcoin is really pushing it, like, this year. It's possible, but it's pushing it. But 10x, Monero might be able to do a 10x, but this is not me giving serious advice. I honestly don't know. I think that making a 10x at that point is pretty risky. I don't know. Like, if I were you, I would just put it in something stable, maybe even Bitcoin or Monero, okay? And just don't expect to make money off of it and hold it for a couple years and like try and move somewhere smaller. You know what I mean? That is realistically what I would do. Like, I am all about minimizing. It's not about making a lot of money to me. I mean, obviously the lifestyle that I endorse is about minimizing liability, financial liability. Having no debt, having little debt, that is a good thing. Now let's say if you actually think hyperinflation is going to happen, taking out a massive mortgage is a great deal for you, right? Because you're going to be paying that mortgage back on, dollars that have been inflated to matter nothing. If prices go up times 10, you no longer have a $300,000 mortgage. You have a $30,000 mortgage. You know what I mean? But I would not even bet on disaster. You know what I mean? I would just, my personal recommendations I always give to people is minimize your liabilities. That's all I would say. Getting in a mortgage that big, I'm afraid of that. I would just put your money where you can, where you're not going to lose it. That would be I don't know. But maybe 15,000 is not a lot of money to you. Maybe you're like, that's no big deal. I'm going to take a risk with it. And if so, I mean, you're probably going to be able to make that money in some kind of cryptocurrency, but I'd definitely not be investing in a Pajit coin at this point because everything's been going low. But Monero, possibly. I mean, I think that Monero is going to be a lot higher in the next 5 years, but I'm not going to give you any kind of recommendations over the next year. But that is just, I don't purport to know anything about anything, okay? Alex says, if you agree with Orthodox theology, why do you deprive yourself of the sacraments by not attending an Orthodox church? Also become Catholic. Well, they don't call them sacraments, they call them mysteries in the Orthodox church. Well, I am basically 2 hours away from any Orthodox or Catholic church. So that's not a real possibility if I wanted to go. I often contemplate, if I move, I would go, but, Paul says, recommend going down the XRP Ripple SEC lawsuit rabbit hole. A lot of evidence that XRP will be the bridge between currency and CDBCs, which will make our XRP surpass Bitcoin. Proof of stake is better than proof of work. Okay, the thing with XRP though is, it's not, it like goes against everything that cryptocurrency stands for, in the sense that it is a centralized pre-mined coin, and it's run by a company basically. And I mean, the whole SEC lawsuit, I'm not endorsing the SEC here, but there is a sense in which it functions a lot like a security, okay? And I don't think what you're saying is probably, it's probably not likely or anything, but I really do not want to, I don't want it to win if it is what it says it is. You know what I mean? It's a centralized kind of Trojan horse thing, and that's how I look at XRP. So it's not about making money to me. And honestly, I feel sort of the same way about Chainlink. I know there's a lot of FUD about chain. Well, I need to do a video about cryptocurrency in general and what my view on most cryptocurrency projects are. Not about specific ones, but just in general, like my principles. And my principles are as follows. I want technology, as I said before, that is unregulatable, not tied to a company, not centralized, and that increases, I don't want to say individual freedom in some like esoteric sense, but like puts us in a better environment for technology in general. Okay? I don't want stuff that's going to make it, that's going to entrench existing financial interests. You know what I mean? I mean, it's possible to integrate with those kind of things, but, you know. Okay, so, $5 from, Guille, I don't know how you pronounce your name. Guille. $5. What do you think about LaTeX engines like Tectonic or LaTeX MK? Are those like programs that compile LaTeX? I mean, if they are, I don't know anything about them, frankly. I have no idea. Someone asked, how do I exchange Bitcoin to Monero safely? I mean, there are a bunch of like swap sites where you can do that if you want to. I mean, they're not fully trustless. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have... Okay, so if you go to monero.how, has a bunch of Monero information and stuff like that. And they'll list off some exchanges where you can just... You don't need an account. You can just send some amount of Bitcoin to somewhere, and it will send Monero to an address you give them. Now, they're not fully trustless. What that means is they're not like... technically, this site is running it. So, you know, they have your information. They can stop the transaction. They can do this or that. But, you know, in general, that's not a problem. But the ideal would be something like atomic swaps. I don't know if people are familiar with this term. Maybe I should explain it. But it's basically a fully trustless system where two people can anonymously go on a website and agree, you know, one wants to get rid of Bitcoin, one wants to get rid of Monero, and they trade. And it's a fully trustless system in that there's never a point where one guy pays the other and he has the money and he can run off. You know, there's never that point. And of course, to do it with Bitcoin and Monero is sort of hard because Monero doesn't have smart contracts because that's part of its privacy features. So you have to sort of use it in a hacky way with Bitcoin's smart contract feature. But it can be done. People are working on it now and it's being tested. So I don't know, hopefully in the next year we'll have it. And mind you, if that actually takes off, if, for example, we see that happen in Bitcoin and Monero, that would be extremely, I mean, the Monero price would probably increase precipitously, realistically speaking. I don't know, but there's a good chance that a lot of the value that's being stored in Bitcoin could easily move to Monero in a trustless manner. Even if you just talk about people who have used Bitcoin in scams and have like tainted Bitcoins, they could very easily move to Monero, and that might sound, oh, criminals, blah, blah, that's bad. But there, realistically speaking, that's very, you know, that increases the value stored in Monero and decreases that stored in Bitcoin. And that's very, I guess, bullish for Monero, but you never know. I mean, it could also increase the velocity of exchange of Monero and decrease the price, but I don't think it'd increase the velocity of exchange that much. So... Scorpion, $5. Hey, Luke, do you have any advice to stay focused and undistracted when studying? Well, just don't have any kind of electronic devices around you. That would be an obvious thing. And mostly that's it. I mean, that's why a lot of girls will like go to libraries or stuff where they don't have anything to do and they're not distracted. Well, they'll usually bring their phone, so, you know, but the concept of going somewhere else to work on work, that's an acceptable thing. I'm actually thinking about doing that. Like, I feel like when I first got down here, I got a lot of work done at my house, but now I feel like I'm doing too much leisure, I'm doing too much fun, and I have too many things to work on at my house. So if I want to work on a computer project, it might be better if I had like an office somewhere. Now, I have a friend in town. Here's a fun fact. I might live in the middle of nowhere, but I am not the biggest YouTuber in my town. I was when I moved down here. But there's a guy who started a YouTube channel, and last year he became really big. Okay, he's probably got 250,000 subscribers or something like that. But he has, I met him, I mean, I've met him before in the past, but I met him seriously the other week, and he actually just buys an office downtown. It's very small, but that's where he records videos and does streams because he has better internet there too. So, but anyway, you might just want to find a place where if you cannot resist the temptation to be distracted, separate yourself from the temptation. Okay, I mean that's the easiest advice I can give. All right, Samuel donates $1. Pulling my second all-nighter in a row. Have an econ assignment tomorrow. Not finished. Hope uni is worth it. Wow, and you're distracted watching my stream. So, econ assignment. I wonder what they teach econ students nowadays. I don't even know. I don't keep up with it. I didn't learn anything as an economic. Well, when I got my economics degree, I mean this is always how it is. You always know if it's a topic you're really interested in, you already know all the stuff that they try and teach you in school. You know what I mean? That's always how it is. So like my economics education was a total waste. Only thing I remember that I hadn't heard was the solo growth model, which is obviously fake and stupid. Is this a tech channel? No. Is that big tree in your house? Yeah, I'm in my house right now. How do I level up my testosterone XP? Or testosterone? Is that something else? Or are you actually talking about testosterone? Go to sleep when the sun goes down. Wake up when the sun comes up. Don't eat breakfast. Don't sit on your computer for more than an hour, which I have violated. I've been here nearly 2 hours. But at least I'm outside, right? At least I'm getting vitamin D from the sun, which is actually hormonally active, getting vitamin D. Don't eat things that vegans eat. Eat lots of red meat. That should be an obvious one. Preferably, I don't want to tell you to get like expensive meat at Whole Foods, but if you know the meat and you know it's less likely to have like hormonal stuff in it, you know, you should aim for that. Bharat Nair sends in 100 rupees. Thanks for your domain and email server video. Your script made it painless. I'm trying to set up on my own. I tried setting up on my own and it was a disaster. All right, great. I actually need to do a new tutorial video on setting up a website because there are a couple things I want to change and a couple things I messed up. But also, since I did it on Vultr, when you install Debian 10 on Vultr, it now starts with like a firewall. So now if someone follows those instructions, I think they would actually mess up. Like it would be like, you wouldn't be able to do your certbot like verification. So I got to do a video on that, but I don't mind. I don't mind. At least it'll get me more clicks on the affiliate link. That's one video I've had to do like, no, I've only done it twice before, I think. I did the original set up an email video, or set up a website video, and then I did one where I did a website and email in one. But I might have to do another. He is actually Indian, yeah. His name is India in India. In Indian. In Indian. Indian's not a language, but, you know, might as well be. Okay, I'm getting pretty tired and it's getting a little warm. Actually, maybe I should... I'm trying to think if I should eat. I know I said I don't really eat lunch either, but I don't know, maybe I will. I'll see what my friends are doing. Actually, I should probably... Oh, I got some texts. Got some texts I gotta respond to. Let's see. Alright, it's actually getting hot, like the sun is on my back, so I need to get out. So if you have last minute donations or comments, go ahead and say them now. And I'll probably quit in a couple minutes. Let me turn that thing off. Okay. Alright, so last minute. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll look at the chat and the donations. Get off of me, stupid. It's some kind of bee. You know, I realized this shirt, I was wearing this shirt the last time I did a stream, I think. Although I just bought it after I got this shirt. Or no, I just did the stream after I bought this shirt. That didn't make any sense. All right. What is your position in the maths discovered versus invented debate? I think it's mostly vocabulary. I think that, I mean, it's like saying, like, who discovers the laws of logic? You know what I mean? Like, there are things that are, I think, analogies, right? So there's a sense in which you know, you might have one assumption, and from that assumption, sit in the core assumption. And I think the same thing is true of math. Like, math, correct to say that stuff in it is discovered as if it does have an external existence. And it's sort of similar to, I mean, if we ran across an alien civilization and they had something like analogous to the same existence, but it is sort of true within the system. And it, more importantly, it represents things in real life, right? So counting, counting and addition and stuff like that represent things in real life. And so it's sort of tautologically true. And that's, I think that you can both, because I think they're sort of, that's my opinion. But I don't know. Oh, there's actually, or whatever. All right. About 2 hours. I'm only just now starting to scratch my nose. People will know that for whatever reason, when I talk for a long time, I just have to scratch my nose. I don't know why. So it happens every time on streams. Okay, Rob says, would you consider masturbation without porn any less degenerate? As a single Christian guy trying to remain abstinent after years of degeneracy, I find it helpful. Also, I was recently baptized, SBC. When were you baptized? Well, I was baptized when I was a kid, when I was in middle school. Would I consider masturbation without porn less degenerate? I mean, yes, I would consider it less degenerate, but not by very much. A lot of people will say, oh, pornography's the problem. Masturbation is normal, natural. It ain't. I mean, it's normal in the sense that it's common nowadays. But, you know, most people, for most of the world's history, didn't freaking have an opportunity to masturbate. Like, if you had 5 kids that lived in your room and, you know, it just didn't happen. Like, the whole idea is like a massive cope. But I don't think that porn is like a problem because it makes people more likely to masturbate. And I think the hormonal control of masturbation is one of the, there are a million reasons why you shouldn't masturbate. But hormonal control is one of them. But I mean, if you can't, like, I'm not going to make perfect be enemy of the good. It's good if you if you can now abstain from porn, even if you're still masturbating, but you're not done. Like, and honestly, once you get, like, when I stopped watching porn, I looked back at it and was like, oh, it's actually very easy not to watch porn. And it's the same thing with masturbation. Like, and once you quit it, you'll be, oh, it's not a problem to go without it. Most of it is just like a code people have that they're like, oh, I gotta coom. It's just, you know, stupid. You know, the best way to not coom to porn, or not coom in general, is just, like, occupy your life with, like, do stuff with your life. Like, go outside. You know, go out of here. You know, go in a park. You're not going to do it in a park. The weird thing is, like, people will have these stupid things they say, like, I have to masturbate, otherwise, it's an addiction and I just have to do it, blah, 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 it's, blah, 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 you don't understand, blah, blah. It's absolutely moronic, because, you know, if you really put these people in a freaking room and but anyway, I mean, yeah, so anyway, to answer your question, it's an improvement, but you're not done. That's what I would say. And, yeah, you know, don't let perfect be enemy of the good. You know, try and quit. I thought there was a dog walking up on me. Try and quit cold turkey, but don't freaking give up if you can't do that, and you have to make it more about, I'll do it less frequently. Anyway, from the guy who has 15K, thank you, I appreciate your answer. 15K is a lot of money for me. So, I mean, if it's a lot of money for you, be careful with it. That's what I would say. I already live a minimal life, but even in a small town, it's expensive. Anyway, I have a more serious question. My parents are Muslim, more secular Muslims. I was raised with minimal Islam, but I don't care much. I'm seriously trying to learn more about religion. And I am almost convinced that Jesus is God. My question to you is, how do I learn more about Christianity? Disowned family. So living with, I wouldn't worry about it, especially if you're living in America or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know your situation. If you think that's a serious threat, but I mean, if you do think they'll disown you, I mean, that's something. Maybe that'll help them understand what you're doing, but it sort of depends. It depends on their perspective. I don't know. Yeah, I would. I don't know. Just spend time around Christians and Christian friends, and maybe like involve your parents in that as well. And maybe they'll be okay with it if they're secular Muslims, especially. But I don't know. If you just told me they're secular Muslims, my first reaction would be, oh, who cares? You know, they'll be okay with it. But I don't know your parents. I don't know if they're different. So yeah, I mean, just be wary. Just involve them in what's going on. Like, don't surprise them with anything, but also don't. I mean, you know, don't have them turn them off to, you know, what you see might be actually true, you know? So, all right, let me double check. Last donations. I don't see any more after that. So I'll probably start it. What do you think about the Palestine-Israel war? Oh, I'll give you my opinions and then my live stream will magically quit. Anyway, so I guess that's about it, unless I'll just refresh it one more time because I don't want to miss someone who's sending in one late. All right, well, I'll probably go home. I'll probably maybe have maybe lunch. I don't know. Well, thanks for tuning in. Sorry if the audio has been clipping. I'll have my microphone next time and it won't be a problem. So I'll see you guys next time. And I'll probably, there's a video I've been working on that I might have out in the next couple days. But as I said, I have friends staying with me, so I might not get to it, but we'll see. So anyway, see you guys later.